Right, so we've arrived in the ancient city of Side. We've arrived in the ancient city of Side, spelled S-I-D-E, Side, but it's pronounced Side. Very old, this place, so I'll just give you a bit of a run around. You can have a look for yourself on the camera, on the video. Make of it what you will. We have been here before 2018, so it's always nice to come back and go over old territory. Have got my drone with me today, and we'll be exploring with that as well, just to get a real good view of the place from above. Anyway, beautiful day today, blue skies, and yeah, it's nice and calm, good drone flying weather, so looking forward to making a video in and around Side.
So whilst I put my drone up, have a bit of a spin around with it, I'm going to read you some history about the Apollo Temple. Now this is going to be a slightly romantic kind of angle at it, so let's get into it. So this is the Temple of Apollo, or Apollo Temple, where Anthony met Cleopatra. A visit to the ruins of Apollo Temple makes for a fascinating experience for lovers of romance and history. It is believed to be the place where Anthony met Cleopatra. He presented the Apollo Temple as a token of his love and devotion to her. Even without the romantic angle, the Apollo Temple is a magnificent work of architecture dating back to the 2nd century AD. What made it different from other temples of that era is its antechamber, which had a pair of massive Corinthian columns. It was built in honor of Apollo, the god of light and music.
That feels weird, that does, I'll tell you, looking down. Obviously what we're looking at there is something which was here thousands of years ago, the old ancient city. Some of the city walls down there and some of the pavement and one thing or another. You see where it was then to where it is now. Yeah, interesting.
We know that Side was Hittite and was a part of Lydia in the western part of Asia Minor in the 7th century BC, and came under Persian rule in 546 BC, but the town could make its own coins in the 5th century BC, which presupposes a certain degree of independence. They probably did not fancy the Persians too much, for in 333 BC they surrendered to the Macedonian Alexander the Great without a fight, and from then on started the Hellenization on all fronts, including language, architecture and mythology.
Right, okay, so this is Apollo's temple. Just flick you around on me for a moment. So this is probably one of the main places. There's probably 2 or 3 main places in Side where people come to, you know, to get a bit of history or something. This is one of them. This is a temple of Apollo. This kind of goes back to way before when Alexander the Great invaded Side. He came from Sidon, Tyre and Sidon over there, which is in now what is now known as Lebanon. Came across there in 33 AD. So he sacked Tyre and Sidon, came across the Mediterranean and came here the next year, 334 AD I think it was.
Just as an interesting side note, can you see how the ancient city of Tyre and Side actually are? They're almost identical, but on the opposite side of the Mediterranean.
And there was no resistance put up by the people at the time, the Turkish people at the time, because they'd heard about how brutal Alexander the Great was. So basically, they just laid down their fighting weapons, or didn't even pick them up actually, and just let Alexander the Great come in with his army and just take the place over. So this is one place which is now standing. There's several more. We have got also the Amphitheater, which is about half a mile away. But this place is really quite impressive. You know, there's lots of ruins scattered around, and I think there are attempts to be made to put them back together, a bit like a jigsaw puzzle. Crumbling kind of ruins, which you know, this is the ancient city around here. This is where Alexander the Great would have came sailing into here, and whether it's done by damage through people or damage through natural events or something, I'm not entirely sure. Probably a bit of both, I expect. But anyway, we're going to head on over to the Amphitheater now and go and have a little look at that.
This is Side's Amphitheater. It served as the centre of culture and art in ancient times when Romans dominated this region. This theatre was the major place for all kinds of performances and would be full of Romans who loved seeing and appreciating art. Here is a brief history of this glorious monument. Side's Amphitheater was built by Romans in the 2nd century AD. It replaced the Hellenistic theatre which was there prior to it. This amphitheatre was the largest theatre in the ancient Pamphylia area, where 15 to 20,000 people could easily be seated. In the Roman era, it was used as an arena for gladiator and animal fights, as well as a stage for shows and plays. In the Byzantium era, it was converted to an open-air church and Christian rituals were conducted inside. At the present time, concerts and cultural events take place in this ancient building from time to time.
So we got the history of Side here. I'm not going to read it all because it'd take too long, but if you just want to stop and freeze frame and have a read yourself, it might help. But Side is one of the most important cities in Pamphylia. It was founded on the west side of the nearby Meles Manavgat River. It quickly rose to importance by its favourable situation as a harbour city. There's a lot more information there, just freeze frame and have a read yourself. I'll try and add as much as I can into this particular video. Right, we're now going to head on in.
There's Apollo
of Athena, Temple of Athena. Anyway, we're here at Side Kemp Plani. That's where we are now, at the Amphitheater. Just going to go on in and see what it costs to get in.
The word Side is Anatolian and indicates where the first settlers came from. Probably they were Hittites from Anatolia. Excavations have disclosed a base of basalt column of late Hittite origin. dated to the 7th century BC. Maybe people settled here after a small migration following the destruction of Troy around 1200 BC.
For two people,
Yes, 140 lira.
140 lira.
Yes.
Okay.
Where are you from?
England. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Oh.
Okay.
Okay, cheers. Right, we're in. We're in to see the big fight. Right, let's go this way. You're right. Okay.
You used to be able to go down to the bottom.
You could never get into the actual arena itself.
I went down to the bottom.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. So, you know, obviously there would be lions in the pens there, and then you'd be your local rascal or whatever like. So they'd drag him out, and they would, you know. That's how justice might have been met out years ago. And also they used to have your local gladiator fighting your champion of C-Day. very barbaric life back then, but there we go. It was kind of the entertainment of the day, I suppose. Picked a time for the wife. There you go, mate.
Right, so we've moved from up the top there down to the front where the arena is. I would have loved to have got my drone out just to get up close and personal with it. I just didn't want to send it up there because there are rules and regulations you got to adhere by. So I went up to the front desk to ask the people there to see whether I was allowed to do this, and this is what they had to say.
Are we allowed? Can we fly drones?
Wall? Diner?
Mine, yeah. Can I fly? No. Okay, no problem. No problem. Thank you. Yeah, I thought that might be the case. I thought I'd better ask before putting it up. Just as well I did it earlier, wasn't it, really? Right, just coming into some ruins. I was here a few years ago, and you can see again it's like that jigsaw which I was talking about, just trying to place things back together, whether this place was destroyed through natural through a natural kind of process like earthquakes or something, or it was done by Alexander the Great or whatever else. But again, yes, there's loads of this stuff around here.
The slow decline of C-Day as a city. This began in the 4th century onwards. Even defensive walls could not stop successive invasions of Highlanders coming from the Taurus Mountains. During the 5th and the 6th centuries, C-Day experienced a revival and became the seat of the bishopric of eastern Pamphylia. Arab fleets nevertheless raided and burned C-Day during the 7th century, contributing to its decline. The combination of earthquakes, Christian zealots and Arab raids left the site abandoned by the 10th century, its citizens having emigrated to nearby Antalya. In the 12th century, C-Day temporarily established itself once more as a large city. An inscription found on the site of the former ancient city shows a considerable Jewish population in early Byzantine times. However, C-Day was abandoned again after being sacked. Its population moved to Antalya, and C-Day became known as Eski Adalaya, which means Old Antalya was and now buried.